Marcus Washington's fork clattered against the plate. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. "What did you just say?" His voice cracked. The homeless girl holding the baby stepped back frightened. I just asked if I could have your leftovers, sir. I'm sorry, I'll go." "No." He stood so fast his chair scraped concrete. "Your eyes, those green eyes, and that birthmark on your wrist." He grabbed her arm too hard, desperate. "How old are you, 22, 23? She yanked free, clutching her baby. "Why does that matter?" "Because," his voice broke completely, "because 23 years ago I made the worst mistake of my life." Drop a comment with your city name so I can see how far this story travels across America. Also, Part 1. The Collision. Marcus Washington hadn't cried in 3 years. Not since Diane's funeral. Not since he'd stood in that cemetery watching them lower the only woman he'd ever loved into the ground, while Chicago's winter wind cut through his $1,000 suit like it was paper. But now, on this October evening, outside Ember and Oak, his eyes burned with tears he couldn't control. "Please don't run," he whispered to the young woman backing away from his table. "Please. I need to ask you something." The girl clutched her baby tighter. She couldn't have been more than 23 with red hair pulled back in a messy bun and green eyes that seemed to glow in the restaurant's soft lighting. She wore a denim jacket that had seen too many winters and sneakers held together with duct tape. "Sir, I'm sorry I bothered you. I'll leave your birthmark." Marcus pointed at her left wrist, where a small port wine stain marked her skin. "That birthmark, where did you get it?" "I was born with it. Sir, you're scaring me." "And your eyes, green eyes. How many people in your family have green eyes?" The girl's face hardened. "I don't have a family. Now please let me go." But Marcus couldn't let her go. Not now. Not when his entire world was tilting on its axis. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Why do you care?" "Please, just tell me your name." She hesitated, glancing around as if looking for an escape route. Finally, she answered, "Sophia. Sophia Grant." Grant. Marcus felt his knees weaken. He gripped the edge of the table. "Grant. Oh God. Oh my God. Sir, are you okay? Should I call someone?" "What's your mother's name?" "I don't know. I grew up in foster care." Sophia's voice turned cold. "And I really need to go now." "Foster care? Where?" "Why are you interrogating me? I just asked for food." Marcus forced himself to breathe, to think, to not let 23 years of grief and guilt turn him into a madman on a Chicago sidewalk. "I'm sorry," he said, holding up his hands in surrender. "I'm so sorry. You remind me of someone. Please, sit down. Let me buy you dinner. A real dinner. Please." Sophia looked at him for a long moment. He could see her weighing the risk, strange man asking strange questions, versus the very real hunger in her stomach and her baby's needs. Finally, she lowered herself into the chair across from him, but she kept her distance, kept her baby shielded. "I don't want trouble," she said quietly. "Neither do I." Marcus signaled the waiter, his hands still trembling. "Neither do I." When the waiter approached, Marcus ordered everything. Ribeye steak, salmon, pasta, soup, salad, bread, coffee, juice, dessert. "Sir, that's too much," Sophia started. "It's not enough." Marcus couldn't take his eyes off her face. "It will never be enough." The waiter left confused but professional. Silence settled over the table like fog. The baby stirred in Sophia's arms, making small noises. She was tiny, maybe 4 months old, wrapped in a blanket that had once been white, but was now gray from too many washings. "What's her name?" Marcus asked softly. "Emma." The name hit him like a fist to the chest. "Emma. My mother's name was Emma." "I know. I found it in a baby name book at the library." Sophia's voice was flat, emotionless, as if she'd learned long ago not to feel too much about anything. It means universal or whole. I like that. Like maybe she could be whole even if I'm broken. You're not broken. You don't know me. No, Marcus admitted. But I'd like to. Why? It was such a simple question. Such an impossible question to answer. Because you have my mother's eyes. Because that birthmark is the same one my sister had. Because 23 years ago I destroyed someone's life, and I've been running from it ever since. Because you're brave, Marcus said instead. You asked for help. That takes courage most people don't have. Sophia laughed, but there was no humor in it. Brave, right. I'm so brave I'm begging for scraps outside restaurants. You're not begging. You're surviving. There's a difference. The food started arriving in waves. Sophia's eyes widened at the sheer amount. She looked at Marcus, then at the food, then back at Marcus. I can't eat all this. Then take it with you. Feed yourself for a few days. Feed Emma. Why are you doing this? Because I can. Marcus leaned forward. Because once a long time ago, someone should have helped someone I cared about, and they didn't. And I've regretted it every day since. Sophia started eating slowly, methodically, like someone who'd learned not to waste a single bite. Between bites, Marcus asked gentle questions. How old was Emma 4 months? Where were they staying, the YWCA shelter when there was room? Otherwise, wherever was safe. What happened to Emma's father? Gone before Emma was born. What about her family? There wasn't one. Not really. Each answer was a knife to Marcus's heart, but he kept his face neutral, kept his voice calm. You said you grew up in foster care, he said carefully. Where? Indiana. Rural Indiana. Small town called Greenfield. Sophia paused her fork halfway to her mouth. Why do you keep asking about my past? I'm just trying to understand your story. My story isn't interesting. Girl gets pregnant, loses everything, ends up on the street. You've heard it before. I haven't heard yours. Sophia set down her fork. She looked at him directly for the first time, really looked at him, and Marcus felt like she was seeing straight through to every secret he'd ever kept. What do you want from me? She asked. Nothing. I want to give you something. Nobody gives anything for free. I do. Why? Because... Marcus stopped. How could he explain? How could he tell this girl, this stranger, who might be the answer to 23 years of questions that he saw his own failures reflected in her situation? Because my wife died 3 years ago, he said quietly. And before she died, she made me promise something. She made me promise to help people who fell through the cracks. People the world forgot about. She said that's how we make meaning out of suffering. We catch others before they fall as far as we did. Sophia's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry about your wife. So am I. Marcus pulled out his phone, showing her a photo. This is Diane. And this is our daughter Jasmine. She's a doctor now in Atlanta. Sophia looked at the photo for a long time. Your wife was beautiful. She looks kind. She was the kindest person I ever knew. Marcus's voice cracked. She was the best part of me. What happened to her? Cancer. Ovarian cancer. By the time they caught it, it was too late. That's terrible. Yes. Marcus put the phone away. But you know what she told me the day before she died? She said, Marcus, we're all broken pieces. But broken pieces can still catch light. Promise me you'll help other broken pieces find their light. Sophia was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Your wife sounds like someone I wish I could have met. She would have liked you. You don't know that. Yes, I do. She had a gift for seeing people's potential. She would have looked at you and seen what I see. What's that? A fighter. A survivor. A mother who would do anything for her child. Marcus paused. And maybe something else. What? But Marcus couldn't say it. Not yet. Not until he was sure. Instead, he asked, "Tell me about your childhood, in foster care. What do you remember?" Sophia's face closed off. "Why does it matter?" "Humor me." She sighed, adjusting Emma in her arms. "I was in the system since I was 2 days old. Left at a hospital in Indianapolis. No note, no name, nothing. They called me Baby Jane Doe for 6 months, until they needed to put something legal on the paperwork. Someone at the agency picked Sophia because it was their favorite grandmother's name. Grant, because that was the name of the street where the hospital was." Marcus felt ice water in his veins. 2 days old, Indianapolis. What hospital? St. Vincent's. Why? What date? What was your birthday? July 17th. But why? July 17th. Marcus closed his eyes. Oh God. Oh God, it's really you. What are you talking about? Sophia. Marcus opened his eyes and they were swimming with tears. Sophia, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Have you ever tried to find your birth parents? Her face hardened again. No. Why would I? They threw me away like garbage. What if they didn't? What? What if they didn't throw you away? What if something happened? What if someone made a terrible mistake? Sophia stood up abruptly. I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but I'm done. Thank you for the food. Wait. No. You're being weird. You're asking creepy questions. I should never have come over here. Sophia, please. Stop saying my name like you know me. You don't know me. The baby started crying. Other diners were looking over. Marcus knew he was losing her, losing this moment, losing the chance to fix what should never have been broken. My wife had green eyes, he said desperately, just like yours. And my sister who died when we were children, she had a birthmark on her left wrist, just like yours. And 23 years ago, on July 17th, I was in Indianapolis. And something happened. Something terrible. Something I've regretted every single day since. Sophia froze. What are you saying? I'm saying I think I know who your birth parents are. That's impossible. Is it? Look at me. Really look at me. You asked earlier why I'm doing this. You want to know why. Because when you walked up to my table and I looked into your eyes, it was like seeing a ghost of someone I loved, someone I lost. You're crazy. Maybe. Or maybe I'm finally facing the truth I've been running from for 23 years. Sophia was shaking now, still holding Emma, still standing, caught between running and staying. Who? She whispered. Who do you think my parents are? Marcus stood slowly, carefully, like approaching a wild animal that might bolt at any moment. I think, he said softly, that your mother's name was Michelle Grant, and I think your father's name was Robert Harrison, and I think you were taken from them before they ever got a chance to fight for you. How do you know those names? Because Michelle Grant was my first love, and Robert Harrison was my best friend. And on July 15th, 23 years ago, they died in a car accident in Indianapolis. And when they died, Michelle was 9 months pregnant. The color drained from Sophia's face. No. And the only people who knew about the baby were me and the hospital staff. And after the accident, I was so destroyed, so lost in grief, that I signed papers I shouldn't have signed. I let them take you away because I couldn't handle the responsibility, because I was young and stupid and scared. And I've hated myself for it every day since. You're lying. I'm not. Marcus pulled out his phone with trembling fingers. He scrolled through photos until he found what he was looking for. An old picture scanned and digitized of 3 young people laughing on a beach. A young black man with a bright smile. A beautiful black woman with green eyes and her hand on her barely visible pregnant belly. And a white man with sandy hair and the same facial structure as the woman standing in front of Marcus right now. This is Michelle, Marcus said, his voice breaking. Your mother. Look at her eyes. Look at your eyes. Sophia stared at the photo. Her hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped Emma. This is Robert. Marcus continued, pointing to the white man. Your father. Look at his face. Now look in a mirror. Stop. And this is me, 23 years younger, 23 years more of a coward. Marcus wiped his eyes. They were going to name you Emma. Michelle told me the day before the accident. She said, if it's a girl, we're naming her Emma after your mother. Sophia was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. You named your daughter Emma, Marcus whispered. You gave her the name your mother wanted to give you, and you didn't even know. This can't be real. It is. God help me, it is. Why? Sophia's voice broke. Why did you give me up? Why didn't you keep me? Why didn't you fight for me? Because I was 24 years old, and I had just lost the two people I loved most in the world, and I was drowning. Because the hospital social worker told me I had no legal right to you, that I wasn't family, that the state would take better care of you than I could. Because I believed her. Because I was weak. I grew up in hell, Sophia said, her voice rising. Do you understand that I grew up in houses where people hurt me, where people used me, where I learned that I was worthless and unwanted and better off dead? That was the better care you thought I'd get. I know. God, I know. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't give me back 23 years. No, it doesn't. Nothing can. They stood there in the cooling evening air, two broken people connected by tragedy and choice, and the cruelest kind of fate. Finally, Sophia said, prove it. If this is real, prove it. How? DNA test. If you're telling the truth, we'd share DNA. Michelle was black, Robert was white. I'd be biracial. You're black. If Michelle was your whatever she was, we'd share something. She wasn't related to me by blood. We weren't family. I can't prove it through DNA. Then you can't prove it at all. But Robert's family, they're still alive. His sister, his mother. We could test against them. Sophia laughed bitterly. Great. So I have a white grandma somewhere who never wanted to find me either. They didn't know. After Robert died, I never told them about you. I was so ashamed of what I'd done, I buried it. I tried to forget. Well, congratulations. You succeeded. You forgot. But I had to live with being forgotten. Marcus felt each word like a physical blow, but he deserved it. He deserved every ounce of her rage. You're right, he said quietly. You're absolutely right. What I did was unforgivable. But Sophia, please let me try to make it right. Let me help you now. Let me give you what I should have given you 23 years ago. Which is what? Guilt money? No, family, belonging, a chance. Sophia looked down at Emma, who had fallen back asleep despite the tension crackling in the air. I don't trust you, she said finally. I understand. And I don't forgive you. I don't expect you to. But... She paused, her voice breaking. But I'm tired. I'm so tired of fighting alone. And Emma deserves better than I can give her right now. So if you're serious, if this isn't some twisted game, then yes. Help us. But know that I'm only saying yes for her. Not for you. Never for you. That's fair. And we're doing the DNA test. With these people you say are my family. Because I need to know if this is real, or if you're just a crazy rich man with a guilty conscience who fixated on some homeless girl. We'll do the test. First thing tomorrow. Sophia nodded slowly. She looked exhausted suddenly, as if all the fight had drained out of her. I need to sit down, she whispered. Marcus guided her back to the chair. He sat across from her, this girl who might be the living ghost of his greatest failure and his deepest regret. Tell me about them, Sophia said quietly. Tell me about Michelle and Robert. Who were they really? And so as the October night deepened around them and Chicago's lights began to glow, Marcus told her everything. He told her about meeting Michelle in college, about how she'd been a pre-law student with dreams of becoming a civil rights attorney, about how she'd had the brightest laugh he'd ever heard, and a way of making everyone around her feel seen and valued. He told her about Robert, who'd been his roommate freshman year, a quiet kid from a small town in Indiana who'd come to Northwestern on an engineering scholarship, about how Robert and Michelle had met at a party Marcus threw, and how they'd fallen in love so completely, so absolutely, that it had been like watching two puzzle pieces finally find each other. He told her about the pregnancy unplanned but wanted, about how Michelle and Robert had been terrified but excited, about how they'd started planning a life together, talking about getting married after graduation, about building something real. And he told her about the accident, about how they'd driven to Indianapolis to tell Robert's family about the baby, about how a drunk driver had crossed the center line on a rural highway, about how they'd both died on impact, and how Michelle's last act had been to protect her unborn child with her body. "They saved you," Marcus said, his voice thick with tears. "Even in death they saved you. You were born by emergency C-section. You were so small, so perfect. I held you once in the hospital. Just once. You opened your eyes and looked at me, and I knew I was supposed to protect you, and then I failed." Sophia was crying openly now. Did they love each other? Really love each other? More than I've ever seen two people love each other, except maybe. He paused. Except maybe you and your wife. Yes, except maybe me and Diane. We understood what Michelle and Robert had, because we had it too. Did you tell your wife about me? Marcus closed his eyes. Yes, 3 months before she died. I finally told her everything. And you know what she said? She said, "Marcus, you have to find her. You have to make this right." But you didn't. I tried. I hired investigators. But the adoption records were sealed, and you'd been through so many foster homes the trail went cold. I looked for you for 3 years. I never stopped looking. Until tonight. Until you walked up to my table and asked for my leftovers, and I looked into your eyes and saw Michelle looking back at me. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Sophia asked, "What happens now?" Now. Marcus said, "We start fixing what's broken, one step at a time." The DNA test took 3 days to process. 3 days that felt like 3 years. Marcus put Sophia and Emma up in a suite at the peninsula. When she protested, he simply handed her the key card and said, "Your mother would never forgive me if I let you sleep in a shelter one more night." That first night, Sophia stood in the marble bathroom of the hotel suite and cried. She'd turned on the shower to mask the sound, not wanting to wake Emma, who finally slept peacefully in the bedroom's king-sized bed. The water ran hot and endless, such a small thing, such a miracle. In the shelter, you got 5 minutes of lukewarm water if you were lucky. She looked at herself in the mirror, steam fogging the edges. Green eyes stared back. Michelle's eyes. Maybe. "This isn't real," she whispered to her reflection. "This can't be real." But the suite was real. The food Marcus had ordered enough to feed her for a week was real. The new clothes he'd sent up, still with tags attached, were real. The business card on the nightstand with his personal cell phone number was real. And the hope burning in her chest, terrifying and fragile as a candle flame in wind, that was real too. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Are you comfortable? Do you need anything? I can send more diapers, formula, whatever Emma needs." Sophia's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of her wanted to tell him to leave her alone, that his guilt couldn't buy forgiveness. But Emma had eaten formula tonight, instead of the watered-down version Sophia had been stretching for days. Emma had worn a clean diaper instead of one Sophia had washed in shelter sinks and dried on radiators. "We're fine, thank you." 3 dots appeared immediately. He was waiting for her response, she realized. This millionaire CEO was sitting somewhere staring at his phone, waiting for a homeless girl to text him back. "I'd like to take you shopping tomorrow, for Emma and for you. Real shopping, not just necessities. Will you let me? Sophia's pride screamed at her to refuse. But then, Emma made a small sound in her sleep, and Sophia remembered the look on the shelter worker's face last week when she'd asked for more diapers. That particular mixture of pity and judgment that said louder than words, "You shouldn't have had a baby if you couldn't afford one." Okay. The next morning, Marcus arrived at 9 with coffee and bagels and a car seat already installed in his Mercedes. "I hope I got the right size," he said, gesturing to the car seat. "The woman at the store said it was for infants up to 20 pounds. Sophia stared at the car seat top of the line, the kind she'd priced online during her pregnancy, and laughed bitterly at the cost. "You didn't have to do this." "I know, but Michelle, your mother, she was always so careful about car safety. She made Robert take a defensive driving course when she got pregnant. She'd want Emma to be safe." There it was again. That casual mention of Michelle, as if Sophia had known her, as if she had any claim to this woman who'd died bringing her into the world. "You talk about her like you still know her," Sophia said quietly. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his hands on the steering wheel. "I suppose I do. When you love someone, they don't really leave. Not entirely. They become part of how you see the world." "Is that how you feel about your wife, too?" "Yes. Diane's been gone 3 years, but I still hear her voice sometimes. Usually when I'm about to do something stupid. She had very strong opinions about stupid decisions." Despite herself, Sophia smiled. "What would she say about this, about me?" "She'd say I should have found you 20 years ago. She'd probably hit me with a newspaper for taking so long." Marcus glanced at her. "But then she'd hug you and tell you that you're exactly where you're supposed to be now. She believed in divine timing. She used to say that everything happens in its right season, even if we can't see the pattern while we're living it." They drove to Michigan Avenue. Marcus parked in a private garage and led them to a children's boutique that Sophia had walked past 100 times, never daring to enter. A saleswoman approached immediately, her professional smile faltering slightly when she saw Sophia's worn jacket and Emma's faded blanket. "Can I help you?" The words were polite, but the tone wasn't. "Yes," Marcus said smoothly. "We need everything. Start with basics. Onesies, sleepers, diapers, bottles. Formula. Then move to clothes for the next 6 months. And I want the best car seat you have, the best stroller, the best everything." The saleswoman's eyebrows rose. She looked at Marcus's expensive watch, his tailored coat, then at Sophia with renewed interest and judgment. "Of course, sir. And for the young lady, should I bring items for her as well, or my daughter?" Marcus said firmly, "We'll need a complete wardrobe, professional clothes, casual clothes, shoes, a winter coat, whatever she wants." Sophia's breath caught. Daughter. He'd called her his daughter. The saleswoman's expression shifted completely. "Oh, of course, Mr. Washington, Marcus Washington." Recognition flashed across her face. Everyone in Chicago knew Marcus Washington. "Mr. Washington, it's an honor. Let me call our personal shopper. We'll take excellent care of your family." After the woman hurried away, Sophia turned to Marcus. "You didn't have to say that. That I'm your daughter. Legally, I have no claim to you. Biologically, I'm not related to you. But Michelle was like a sister to me, and you're her child. That makes you family. That makes you my daughter if you'll have me. I don't know if I can call you Dad. I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to let me act like one." The personal shopper arrived, and for the next 2 hours, Sophia experienced something she'd never had someone caring about her: comfort, her preferences, her needs. Marcus sat in a chair holding Emma, while Sophia tried on clothes. The baby seemed content in his arms, and Sophia noticed how naturally he held her, how he automatically swayed slightly to keep her calm. "You're good with babies," she said, emerging from the dressing room in a sweater that actually fit properly. I had practice with Jasmine, and now with my grandson Caleb, though he's 7 now past the baby stage. Marcus smiled down at Emma. I'd forgotten how peaceful they are at this age, before they learn to talk back. Does Jasmine know about me? Marcus's smile faded. Not yet. I wanted to wait until we got the DNA results. I didn't want to tell her I'd found you and then be wrong. What if you are wrong? What if the DNA says I'm not connected to Robert's family? Then we'll figure out what that means. But Sophia, even if the DNA doesn't match, I still want to help you. That doesn't change. Why? Because you need help. Because I can provide it. Because... He stopped searching for words. Because I look at you and Emma, and I see every way the world fails people. And I have the power to do something about it, at least for you. Why wouldn't I? Most people wouldn't. Then most people are wrong. They bought so much that it took 3 employees to load everything into Marcus's car. Sophia felt dizzy watching the total climb on the register: $8,000, $10,000, $12,000. The number became meaningless. In the car driving back to the hotel, she said, "That was more money than I've made in my entire life. It's an investment." In what? In your future. In Emma's future. In fixing what I broke 23 years ago. You can't fix the past. No, but I can try to fix the present. That afternoon, Marcus's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and his face went pale. It's the DNA lab. Sophia's heart stopped. Emma was asleep in her arms. The hotel suite suddenly felt too small, too quiet. Answer it, she whispered. Marcus put the phone on speaker. This is Marcus Washington. Mr. Washington, this is Dr. Chen from GeneTech Labs. I'm calling with the results of your paternity assessment. Go ahead. The DNA comparison between Sophia Grant and Robert Harrison's mother, Elizabeth Harrison, shows a probability of grand maternity at 99.7%. In other words, Elizabeth Harrison is almost certainly the biological grandmother of Sophia Grant. The room spun. Sophia couldn't breathe. You're sure? Marcus's voice was hoarse. Yes, sir. The markers are extremely strong. There's no doubt about the biological relationship. Thank you, Dr. Chen. Marcus ended the call. He and Sophia stared at each other. It's real, she whispered. Oh, God, it's real. You have a grandmother. You have aunts, uncles, cousins. You have a family. I have a family, Sophia repeated, and then she was crying huge gulping sobs that shook her whole body. Emma woke and started crying too, and Marcus crossed the room and wrapped his arms around both of them. You have a family, he said into her hair. You've always had a family. We just didn't know where to find you. They stayed like that until Emma's crying turned to whimpers and Sophia's tears slowed. I need to call Elizabeth, Marcus said finally. I need to tell her. What if she doesn't want me? She'll want you. God, Sophia, she'll want you so much. But Marcus looked nervous as he dialed, and Sophia realized he wasn't sure. He was hoping, but he wasn't sure. Elizabeth, it's Marcus Washington. I know it's been a long time. I need to talk to you about something important. About Robert. Sophia couldn't hear the other end of the conversation, but she watched Marcus's face as he spoke. I know this will sound impossible, but I need you to listen. 23 years ago when Robert died, Michelle was pregnant. The baby survived. A daughter. And I gave her up. I signed papers and I gave her up, and I've regretted it every day since. Silence. Long silence. I know. I should have told you. But I was young and stupid and destroyed by grief, and I made the worst decision of my life. More silence. Her name is Sophia, and Elizabeth, I found her. After all these years, I found her. And we did a DNA test. It's her. It's really her, Robert's daughter, your granddaughter. Sophia heard a sound from the phone, a wail high and broken. "Can I bring her to you? Can we come to Indiana tomorrow?" "Elizabeth, she needs to meet you. She needs to know where she came from." The conversation lasted another 10 minutes. When Marcus finally hung up, his face was wet with tears. "She wants to meet you. Tomorrow," she said. His voice broke. "She said she's been praying for 23 years that somehow, some way part of Robert survived. She said it's like getting her son back." "What if I disappoint her?" "You won't. You couldn't." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do, because you're Robert's daughter, and he was the best man I ever knew." That night, Sophia couldn't sleep. She stood by the window with Emma in her arms, looking out at Chicago's lights. "Your great-grandmother wants to meet you tomorrow," she whispered to the baby. "You have a great-grandmother. Isn't that crazy? 2 days ago we had nobody, and now we have family." Emma yawned, unimpressed by this revelation. Sophia's phone buzzed. Another text from Marcus. "Can't sleep either. Want to talk?" She called him. He answered on the first ring. "Are you okay?" he asked. "I don't know. I don't know how to feel. All my life I thought I was unwanted. I thought my parents threw me away because I was a burden, and now I find out they died trying to protect me. How am I supposed to process that?" "I don't think you can, not all at once. I think you just have to take it moment by moment." Were they good people? Really? The best. Michelle wanted to change the world. She used to say that every person had a right to dignity, that nobody should be invisible. And Robert, he was quiet but solid. The kind of person you could build a life on. When he loved something, he loved it completely. He would have loved you completely. "Tell me something specific. Something real. Not just generalizations." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "Okay. Michelle couldn't cook to save her life. She burned water. Literally, she once forgot she was boiling water for tea and the pot melted. Robert used to joke that he was marrying her despite her attempts to burn down their future apartment. But she made these horrible sandwiches, just peanut butter and banana, way too much of both, and she'd make them for Robert when he was stressed about exams. He'd eat them and tell her they were perfect, even though they were objectively disgusting." Sophia laughed despite herself. "That's very specific." "You wanted real. And Robert, he collected rocks. Not valuable rocks, just interesting ones. He'd see a cool rock on the sidewalk and pocket it. He had this whole shelf in our dorm room of completely ordinary rocks. Michelle used to call it his pet rock family. When they died, those rocks were still in his car. I kept them. I still have them. I can give them to you if you want." "You kept his rocks for 23 years. I kept everything I could. Their books, their photos, Michelle's jewelry, Robert's engineering notebooks. I couldn't save you, but I saved everything else. I thought maybe someday—" He stopped. "Maybe someday you'd find me." "Yes." "Marcus, can I ask you something?" "Anything." "If you had kept me, what would my life have been like?" "I don't know. Different. Probably still hard in some ways. I was 24 and broke and barely holding myself together. But you would have been loved. God, you would have been so loved. And when I met Diane 2 years later, she would have loved you too. You would have grown up with Jasmine. You would have had a sister. I've always wanted a sister. Well, now you have one. Jasmine's going to lose her mind when I tell her. She always wanted a sibling." They talked until 3 in the morning. Marcus told her stories about Michelle and Robert, how they met their first date, the time Robert proposed in the most awkward way possible at a Denny's at 2 in the morning, because he couldn't wait for the romantic beach sunset he'd planned. "He panicked," Marcus explained. "He had this whole thing planned for her birthday. But they were at Denny's after studying all night, and Michelle was eating pancakes, and Robert just blurted out, 'Will you marry me?' The waitress thought he was joking. Michelle thought he was joking. He had to show her the ring to prove he was serious. Did she say yes? Eventually, after she stopped laughing, she made him ask properly, down on one knee in the Denny's. The whole restaurant applauded. Robert was mortified, but he did it. He got down on one knee next to their booth and asked her to marry him. She said yes before he finished the sentence. They sound perfect together. They were. Not perfect people, nobody is, but perfect for each other. That's different. That's rarer. Were you jealous? The question surprised Marcus. Maybe a little at first. I loved Michelle before Robert met her, but it was the wrong kind of love. I loved the idea of her more than the reality. And when I saw her with Robert, I realized what real love looked like. And then I met Diane and I understood it myself. Do you think you'll ever find that again, after your wife? No. That kind of love is once in a lifetime. But I'm okay with that. I had it. A lot of people never do. I thought I had it with Emma's father, but I was wrong. He didn't even stay long enough to see her born. Then he's a fool. And his loss is your gain. You get to raise her yourself, shape her future yourself. That's a gift, even if it doesn't feel like one right now. When they finally hung up, dawn was breaking over Chicago. Sophia watched the sun rise over the lake and thought about how everything had changed in 3 days. 3 days ago, she'd been invisible. Now she was someone's granddaughter, someone's daughter in a way, someone's family. The drive to Indiana took 3 hours. Elizabeth Harrison lived in a small town called Greenfield, the same town where Sophia had grown up in foster care. I was here, Sophia said as they drove through familiar streets. I lived here until I was 18. I probably walked past her house 100 times. Did you ever try to find your birth family when you were growing up? Once, when I was 16. I asked my social worker to help me access the records. She said they were sealed, that my birth parents had requested privacy. I thought that meant they didn't want me to find them. I stopped looking after that. Oh, Sophia, that's not what happened. I sealed the records. I thought I was protecting your privacy, protecting you from people who might exploit you. I never realized it would make you feel unwanted. Everything you did with good intentions hurt me. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it. They pulled up to a small white house with a neat garden. An older woman stood on the porch, her hands clasped in front of her. She had white hair and wore a cardigan despite the mild weather. But her eyes were the same shape as Sophia's. That's Elizabeth, Marcus said softly. Sophia couldn't move. She sat in the car holding Emma, staring at the woman who was her grandmother. What if she doesn't like me? She will. What if I don't know what to say? You'll figure it out. Marcus got out and opened Sophia's door. She stepped out slowly, Emma in her arms. Elizabeth walked down the porch steps, moving carefully like someone whose knees hurt but whose heart was pulling her forward anyway. She stopped 3 feet from Sophia. They stared at each other. You have Robert's eyes, Elizabeth whispered. His exact eyes. Oh my God, you have my son's eyes. I have Michelle's eyes, Sophia said. Marcus told me they were green. You have both. You're both of them. Elizabeth's voice broke. Can I hug you, please? Sophia nodded, and Elizabeth stepped forward and wrapped her arms around her carefully, because of Emma, but firmly enough that Sophia felt it all the way through. I've missed you, Elizabeth whispered. I've missed you for 23 years, and I didn't even know you existed. Sophia started crying. I've missed you too. I didn't know what I was missing, but I felt the empty space where family should be. They stood like that for a long time, 3 generations of women holding each other in front of a small white house in Indiana. Finally, Elizabeth pulled back and looked at Emma. And this is my great-granddaughter. This is Emma, after Marcus's mother. It's perfect. Robert would have loved that name. Elizabeth reached out tentatively. May I hold her? Sophia handed Emma over, and watching her grandmother cradle her daughter, she felt something shift inside her chest. Something hard and protective beginning to soften. Come inside, Elizabeth said. I have so much to show you. I kept everything of Robert's. His room is exactly as he left it. I couldn't change it. I couldn't let him go. The house was small, but immaculate. Elizabeth led them to a bedroom that looked frozen in time. Posters of rock bands from the 90s. A shelf full of engineering textbooks. A desk with old notebooks still open to equations. This was his space, Elizabeth said. This was where he studied, where he dreamed. Where he called Michelle every night at 9 o'clock exactly because that's when her roommate went to the library and they could talk privately. Sophia touched the desk, the notebooks, trying to feel some connection to this man she'd never know. "Tell me about him," she said. "Tell me everything." And Elizabeth did. For hours she told stories. She showed photos: Robert as a baby, as a child, as a teenager. Robert building model rockets in the backyard. Robert at his high school graduation, so proud in his cap and gown. Robert moving to Northwestern, hugging his mother goodbye. "He called me every Sunday," Elizabeth said. "Every single Sunday, no matter how busy he was. And when he called to tell me about Michelle, I knew immediately that she was special. He couldn't stop talking about her. He said, 'Mom, I met someone who makes me want to be better than I am.'" "Did you meet her?" "Once. They came home for Thanksgiving his junior year. Michelle was kind and smart, and she made my son laugh. She told me," Elizabeth's voice caught. "She told me that she'd never felt like she belonged anywhere until she met Robert. She said he was her home." They sound like they really loved each other. They did, and they loved you before you were even born. Robert called me 2 weeks before the accident. He said, "Mom, we're having a baby. I'm going to be a father. I'm terrified and thrilled, and I can't wait to meet her. He was so sure you were a girl. He said he could feel it." Sophia was crying again. She seemed to cry constantly now, all the tears she'd held back for 23 years flooding out. "I wish I'd known them." "So do I, sweetheart. So do I." Elizabeth handed Emma back to Sophia. "But you're here now. That's what matters. You're here and you're alive, and you're exactly who you're supposed to be." They had dinner together that night, Elizabeth, Marcus, Sophia, and Emma. Elizabeth made pot roast and potatoes, and it was the best meal Sophia had ever eaten. Robert loved this meal, Elizabeth said. Every time he came home from college, this is what he wanted. Comfort food, he called it. After dinner, Elizabeth brought out more boxes. Letters Robert had written home, report cards from elementary school, a baby book with his first curl of hair, his first tooth. "This is your history," Elizabeth said, pushing the boxes toward Sophia. "This is where you come from. I want you to have it all. I can't take your memories. They're not just mine anymore. They're yours too. You're his daughter. You deserve to know him." Late that night, as they prepared to drive back to Chicago, Elizabeth held Sophia's hands. "I know this is overwhelming. I know you need time to process everything. But please, please don't disappear. Please let me be part of your life. Part of Emma's life." "I won't disappear," Sophia promised. "I spent my whole life being invisible. I'm done with that." "Good." Elizabeth hugged her again. "You call me Grandma, or Elizabeth, or whatever feels right. But you call me. Every Sunday. That was Robert's day, and now it's yours." In the car driving back, Sophia was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Marcus, what happens now? What do you want to happen?" "I don't know. A week ago I was homeless. Now I have a hotel suite and a grandmother and more clothes than I can wear. It doesn't feel real." "It is real, and it's permanent if you want it to be. The foundation can set you up with an apartment, help you get back on your feet. Or..." He hesitated. "Or what?" "Or you could come to Chicago. Live there. Let me help you finish your degree. Let Emma know her family." "Why would you do that?" "Because you're Robert's daughter. Because you're Michelle's daughter. Because..." He stopped at a red light and looked at her. "Because I failed you once. Let me do it right this time." Sophia moved into Marcus's guest house 3 weeks later. It wasn't charity, he insisted. It was family. "The main house has 5 bedrooms that nobody uses," he'd explained when he first showed her the property. The guest house has 2 bedrooms, a kitchen, a living room. It's separate enough that you'll have privacy close enough that I can help with Emma when you need it." Sophia had stood in the doorway of the guest house, Emma in her arms, and tried to find words for what she was feeling. The space was bigger than anywhere she'd ever lived. It had windows that let in actual sunlight. It had a washer and dryer. It had a bathtub. "I can't afford this," she'd whispered. "You're not paying rent. You're family. Marcus, I can't just take this. Why not? I have space you need. You have a baby who deserves a safe home. It's simple math." But it wasn't simple. Nothing about this was simple. The first night in the guest house, Sophia barely slept. She kept waiting for someone to tell her it was a mistake, that she had to leave, that she didn't belong here. She'd lived that story too many times, foster homes that seemed okay at first, then turned cold. Promises that evaporated like morning dew. At 2 in the morning, there was a soft knock on her door. She opened it to find Marcus in a robe holding a mug. "Warm milk?" he said. "Old habit. Diane used to make it for Jasmine when she couldn't sleep. I heard you moving around and thought maybe—" He stopped. "Sorry. This is intrusive. You want me to go?" "No, come in." They sat at her new kitchen table. Emma slept in the bedroom, the monitor on the counter showing her peaceful face. "I can't stop waiting for this to end," Sophia said quietly. "For you to realize I'm not worth all this trouble. You're not trouble. I'm a 23-year-old single mother with no degree, no job, no skills. I'm the definition of trouble. You're a survivor. You're resourceful. You're brave enough to ask for help when you need it. Those are skills most people never learn." Marcus sipped his own milk. "And you're not alone anymore. That changes everything." "Does it?" "Because I've been alone my whole life. I don't know how to be anything else." "Then you'll learn. We'll both learn. I haven't been anyone's father in years. Jasmine's all grown up living her own life. I'd forgotten what it feels like to be needed. You're needed. Your company needs you. Your foundation needs you. That's different. That's professional obligation. This is—" He gestured between them. "This is personal. This is family. And I've missed having family under my roof." Sophia looked at him carefully. "You're lonely." "Yes, very." He didn't try to hide it. "The house has been so quiet since Diane died. Too quiet. I rattle around in there like a ghost haunting my own life." "Is that why you're doing this? Because you're lonely and I'm convenient?" "No, I'm doing this because it's right. Because I owe Robert and Michelle. Because you deserve stability. But—" He smiled slightly. "But yes, having you here helps me too. Is that so wrong?" "I don't know. I've never had someone help me without wanting something in return." "I want something in return. I want you to let me be family. I want you to trust me enough to build a life here. I want Emma to know her great-grandmother and eventually her Aunt Jasmine. I want to watch you become whoever you're meant to be without survival getting in the way." He paused. "That's what I want. Is that too much?" Sophia thought about it. "I don't know yet. Ask me in 6 months." "Fair enough." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Sophia asked, "When are you telling Jasmine about me?" "Soon. I'm flying to Atlanta this weekend. I want to tell her in person." "What if she hates me?" "She won't." "She might. I'm the secret love child her father kept hidden for 23 years. That's soap opera-level drama." Marcus laughed. "When you put it that way, it does sound dramatic. But you're not Robert's love child. You're his daughter. And Jasmine has always wanted a sibling. She used to beg us for a brother or sister when she was little. Why didn't you have more kids?" "We tried. Diane had several miscarriages. After the 3rd one, the doctors said it was too dangerous to keep trying. So Jasmine was it. Our only one. Our miracle." His voice softened. "She's a lot like her mother. Smart, compassionate, stubborn as hell. You'll like her. Or I'll resent her for having the life I should have had." Marcus didn't flinch from the truth in that. Maybe. You'd have every right to. But I hope you won't. Because none of this was her fault. She lost her mother. You lost your parents. You're both grieving different losses. Do you think about them, Robert and Michelle? Every day. Especially now. I keep thinking about what they'd say if they could see you. Michelle would probably cry. She cried at everything: commercials, greeting cards, babies laughing. Robert would be quieter about it, but he'd be so proud. You have his determination, his quiet strength. I don't feel strong. Strength isn't about not being scared. It's about being scared and doing it anyway. You asked me for leftovers outside a restaurant with your baby in your arms. That took more courage than anything I've ever done in business. The next morning, Marcus left for Atlanta. Sophia spent the day exploring the guest house, putting away the clothes and supplies they'd bought, setting up Emma's nursery. She'd never had a nursery. In the shelter, Emma had slept in a dresser drawer lined with blankets. Before that, in the tiny apartment Sophia had lost, Emma had slept in a bassinet from Goodwill. Now she had a crib. A real crib with a mobile that played lullabies. She had a changing table stocked with diapers and wipes. She had clothes organized by size, ready for her to grow into. Sophia sat in the rocking chair and cried. Again. She cried so much these days. Happy tears, sad tears, overwhelmed tears, grateful tears. They all blended together. Her phone rang. Elizabeth. "How's the new place?" her grandmother asked. Her grandmother. Sophia still couldn't quite believe she had a grandmother. "It's beautiful, too beautiful. I feel like I'm going to break something." Elizabeth laughed. "You won't. And even if you did, it's just stuff. You're what matters. You and Emma." They talked for an hour. Elizabeth had called every day since they'd met, exactly at 9 o'clock in the morning. She was consistent in a way Sophia had never experienced. Foster parents came and went. Social workers changed every few months. But Elizabeth called every single morning without fail. "I'm coming to visit next weekend," Elizabeth announced. "I want to see where you're living. I want to make sure Marcus is treating you right." "He's treating me fine. Better than fine." "Good. But I still want to see. A grandmother's prerogative." She paused. "Unless that's too much, am I being too pushy?" "Your Aunt Karen says I'm being too pushy." "I have an aunt." "Two. Karen and Beth. Robert's sisters. They're dying to meet you, but I told them to give you space. Was I wrong? Do you want to meet them?" "I don't know. Maybe." "This is all happening so fast. We can go as slow as you need. But Sophia, honey, we've missed 23 years. Forgive me for being impatient to know you now." After they hung up, Sophia fed Emma and tried to process everything. 2 weeks ago, she'd had no one. Now she had Marcus, Elizabeth, 2 aunts she hadn't met, and somewhere in Atlanta, a half-sister who didn't know she existed yet. That evening, Marcus called from Atlanta. "I told her." Sophia's stomach dropped. "And she wants to talk to you. Is that okay? Can I give her your number?" "What did she say? Is she angry?" "She's shocked. And she has questions, a lot of questions, but angry no. She's..." Marcus's voice cracked. "She's excited. She said, 'Dad, I have a sister. I've always wanted a sister.'" 10 minutes later, Sophia's phone rang. Unknown number. Atlanta area code. She answered with shaking hands. "Sophia." The voice was warm, professional, with a slight southern accent that must have come from living in Atlanta. "This is Jasmine. Your sister, I guess." "God, that sounds weird to say." "Hi." Awkward silence. "So this is strange," Jasmine said finally. "Very strange. My dad just told me that my whole life has basically been a lie, and I have a secret sister who's been living in poverty while I was in private schools and summer camps. So, yeah, processing that. If it helps, I'm processing it too. Are you okay? Like really okay? Dad said you were homeless a few weeks ago." "I was. I'm not anymore. Because of him. Yes. And you're living in his guest house. Yes. Another pause. Then Jasmine said, I'm not mad at you. I want to be clear about that. You didn't ask for any of this. But I am mad at my dad for keeping this secret for 23 years. He didn't know how to find me. The adoption was sealed. He could have tried harder. He should have told my mom. He should have told me. Jasmine's voice shook. We could have looked for you together. You should have been at my birthday parties. You should have been at my high school graduation. You should have been there when my mom died. Sophia didn't know what to say to that. I'm sorry, she finally whispered. Don't apologize. None of this is your fault. Jasmine took a breath. Look, I need to ask you something and I need you to be honest. Are you using my dad because he's vulnerable right now? He's lonely and guilty, and if you're playing him, I'm not. How do I know that? You don't. But I didn't ask for any of this. He found me. He offered help. I took it because I had a 4-month-old baby and nowhere to live. If that makes me a user, then I guess I'm a user. Silence. Then Jasmine said, You're right. I'm sorry. That was unfair. It's okay. You're protecting your dad. I get it. I'm coming to Chicago next weekend. I want to meet you, face to face. Is that okay? Yes. And I want to meet my niece. Dad said her name is Emma. Yes, after his mother. That's... Jasmine's voice softened. That's a good name. My grandmother would have loved that. They talked for another hour. Jasmine asked about Emma, about Sophia's childhood, about her plans for the future. She was careful with her questions, but Sophia could feel the weight behind them. Jasmine was trying to figure out if Sophia was real or a threat. I'm not trying to replace you, Sophia said finally. I'm not trying to steal your father or your family. I'm just trying to survive. I know, or I'm trying to know. It's a lot. For me too. Yeah, I bet it is. Jasmine paused. My mom would have loved you, I think. She was big on helping people. The foundation was her idea. She always said we had a responsibility to use our privilege for good. She would have been furious that you spent 23 years in the system. Marcus talks about her a lot. Your mom. He loved her so much. They were the couple everyone else wanted to be. When she died, it broke something in him. He went through the motions for a while, but he wasn't really there. The foundation kept him going, I think. Gave him purpose. He seems better now, since he found me. Does he? That's good. That's really good. Jasmine's voice caught. I've been so worried about him. He puts on a good face, but I know he's been struggling. If you're helping him even accidentally, then thank you. I haven't done anything. You showed up. Sometimes that's enough. After they hung up, Sophia sat in the dark holding Emma. Her daughter slept peacefully, unaware that her world had expanded to include a great-grandmother, an aunt, a grandfather figure, and a complicated web of family she'd never asked for. We have people now, Sophia whispered to her sleeping baby. We have people who want us. Is that allowed? Can we trust this? Emma didn't answer. She just breathed soft and steady, trusting in a way Sophia had forgotten how to be. The next day, Marcus returned from Atlanta. He looked exhausted. How did it go? Sophia asked. She's processing. She's hurt that I kept this secret. She's protective of you and suspicious of my motives and excited to have a sister all at once. It's complicated. Everything about this is complicated. Yes. He sat down heavily. Sophia, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. Okay. Do you want all of this? Because I'm pushing a lot at you very fast. I'm pushing you into my life, into Jasmine's life, into Elizabeth's life. But maybe you need space. Maybe you need to figure out who you are outside of being everyone's miracle reunion. Sophia thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't know, she said finally. A month ago, my biggest goal was getting through each day without Emma crying from hunger. Now I'm supposed to have opinions about being someone's daughter and sister and granddaughter. I don't know how to be those things. I've never been those things. That's fair. But I know I don't want to be alone anymore. I know I want Emma to have family. I know I want to stop fighting for survival every single day. So if that means I'm using you, then yes, I'm using you. But I'm trying to be honest about it. Marcus smiled slightly. I appreciate the honesty. And I'll try. With Jasmine, with Elizabeth, with all of it. I'll try to be family. But I don't know if I'm any good at it. None of us know if we're good at it. We just keep trying. That weekend, Elizabeth arrived with Karen and Beth. Sophia opened the door to find 3 women on her doorstep. Elizabeth and 2 younger women who looked so much like Robert in the photos that Sophia's breath caught. "These are your aunts," Elizabeth said. "They insisted on coming. I told them to wait, but they're stubborn." Karen, the older of the 2, stepped forward. "I'm sorry. I know this is overwhelming. But I couldn't wait. I had to see you. You look so much like Robert. It's—" Her voice broke. "It's like having a piece of him back." Beth, quieter, hung back. "I brought pictures of Robert when he was little. I thought you might want to see them." They came inside and spent the afternoon going through photo albums. Sophia saw Robert's whole life laid out in pictures: a chubby baby, a gap-toothed kid, an awkward teenager, a confident young man. In every photo he was smiling. "He was happy," Sophia said. "He looked so happy in all of these." "He was," Elizabeth agreed. "Even when things were hard, he found joy. That was his gift." "I wish I'd known him." "So do we, honey, so do we." Karen pulled out more photos, these ones of Robert and Michelle together. They were young and in love and glowing with it. "This was taken a week before the accident," Karen said, pointing to one photo. Robert and Michelle stood in front of a sunset, his hand on her pregnant belly, her head on his shoulder. "He called me that night and said, 'Karen, I'm going to be a dad.' Can you believe it? Me a dad." He was so excited. Sophia stared at the photo, at her mother's face, at her father's hand on the belly that held her. "They wanted me." "More than anything," Elizabeth confirmed. "You were wanted and loved before you were even born." "Then why did I end up in foster care? Why didn't you take me?" The room went silent. Finally, Elizabeth said, "We didn't know about you. Marcus never told us. By the time we learned you existed, it was too late. You'd been adopted, the records were sealed, and we had no legal standing to fight it." "When did you find out?" 3 weeks ago, when Marcus called." Sophia looked at Marcus, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner. "You really never told them?" "No, I was—" He struggled for words. "I was trying to protect everyone. I thought if they knew about you and couldn't find you, it would destroy them all over again. I thought I was being merciful. I was wrong." "You were wrong about a lot of things," Karen said, her voice hard. "I know. We could have found her. We could have fought for her, but you took that choice away from us." "I know." Beth put a hand on her sister's arm. "Karen, not now. When then? He's been lying to us for 23 years. And he's trying to fix it now. Can we please just focus on Sophia, on getting to know her?" The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Emma, sensing it, started to fuss. Sophia picked her up, grateful for the distraction. "She's hungry," Sophia said. "I need to feed her." She escaped to the bedroom, Emma in her arms. Through the door she heard raised voices. Karen, angry, Elizabeth placating Marcus, defending himself quietly. There was a soft knock. Beth slipped inside. "I'm sorry about that," she said. "Karen's been angry for a long time. Not just about you. About losing Robert. She never really processed it." "I don't want to cause problems." "You're not causing anything. This needed to happen. We needed to deal with this. Beth sat down carefully. Can I hold her, Emma? Sophia handed over her daughter. Beth took her with the confidence of someone who'd held babies before. I have 3 kids, Beth explained. 10, 8, and 5, your cousins. They're dying to meet you. But I told them to wait. Too much too fast isn't good for anyone. Thank you. Robert would have been a great dad. He was so good with kids, patient, kind. He taught me to ride a bike when our dad was too busy with work. He helped me with my homework every night in high school. He was the good one in the family, the golden child. And when he died, Beth's voice caught. When he died, it was like the light went out. Mom was never the same. Karen got angry, I just got quiet. We all dealt with it differently. I'm sorry. Don't be. I'm glad you're here now. I'm glad we found you. And I'm glad Robert's daughter gets to know where she came from. Beth looked at Emma. This little one looks like him too, around the eyes. She's going to be beautiful. Do you think... Sophia hesitated. Do you think he would have been proud of me, even though I messed up? Even though I got pregnant and lost everything? He would have loved you exactly as you are. That's what Robert did. He loved people for who they were, not who they should be. When they returned to the living room, Karen had calmed down. Marcus looked shaken, but resolute. I'm sorry, Karen said stiffly to Sophia. This isn't about you. I'm dealing with a lot. I understand. Do you? Because I lost my brother. And now I find out I had a niece all along that nobody told me about. So, yeah, I'm processing. Karen, Elizabeth warned. No, let her talk, Sophia said. She deserves to be angry. Karen looked at her in surprise. You think so? Yes. I'm angry too. I'm angry at Marcus for giving me up. I'm angry at the system that failed me. I'm angry at every foster parent who made me feel worthless. I'm angry that I had to beg for leftovers outside a restaurant to feed my baby. So yeah, I get being angry. Something shifted in Karen's face. You get it. I do. Good. Because I'm tired of everyone telling me to be understanding and forgiving. I'm allowed to be mad. Yes, you are. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Karen said, I think we're going to be okay, you and me. I hope so. The rest of the visit went smoother. They ordered pizza and sat around talking. Elizabeth told stories about Robert's childhood. Karen shared memories of teenage Robert. Beth showed videos of her kids. They look like you, she told Sophia, showing her youngest daughter on the screen. Same eyes, same stubborn expression. I have a stubborn expression. Very. Beth grinned. Welcome to the family. As they were leaving, Elizabeth pulled Sophia aside. I'm proud of you. The way you handled Karen, that took grace. She had a right to be angry. Yes, but you didn't get defensive. You just let her feel what she felt. That's wisdom. Elizabeth kissed her forehead. You're going to be just fine, honey. I can feel it. After they left, Marcus and Sophia sat in exhausted silence. That went better than I expected, he said finally. Did it? Because it felt pretty terrible. Karen didn't storm out. That's better than expected. He smiled tiredly. She'll come around. She just needs time. Will she? Because she looked at you like she wanted to throw something at your head? She did throw something at my head. A book. When she was 16 and I told her she couldn't go to a concert. She has good aim. I'm glad she was unarmed today. Despite everything, Sophia laughed. This family is complicated. All families are complicated. We're just compressed 23 years of complication into 3 weeks. When does it get easier? I don't know, but we'll figure it out together. Jasmine arrived the following weekend with 2 suitcases and a determined expression. She stood on Marcus's doorstep at 8 in the morning, too early for politeness, but too anxious to wait. Marcus answered in his robe, coffee in hand. Jasmine, you said you were coming at noon. I couldn't sleep. I got on the first flight. She looked past him toward the guest house. Is she awake? Probably. Emma wakes her around 6. Good. I want to meet her now, before I lose my nerve. You don't need nerve. She's your sister. She's a stranger who happens to share DNA with someone I've never met. That's different than a sister. Marcus flinched, but didn't argue. Give me 10 minutes. Let me tell her you're here. She's nervous too. Why, I'm the one whose world got turned upside down. Hers got turned upside down first. 3 weeks ago she was homeless. Now she's living in my guest house meeting relatives she didn't know existed. Have some empathy, Jasmine. Something in his tone made Jasmine pause. You really care about her? Yes. More than you care about me. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Dad. But I'm asking anyway. Have I been replaced? Marcus set down his coffee and pulled his daughter into a hug. Never. You're my daughter. You're Diane's daughter. Nothing changes that. But Sophia, she's family too. There's enough room in my heart for both of you. Jasmine held on tight. I'm scared. Of what? That she'll be better at being your daughter than I am. That you'll realize you wasted all those years on me when you should have been looking for her. Jasmine Marie Washington, look at me. Marcus pulled back his hands on her shoulders. You are my miracle. You saved me and your mother when we were lost. You're a doctor who saves lives. You're an incredible mother to Caleb. You are everything we ever hoped you'd be. Sophia doesn't change any of that. Then what does she change? She changes the size of our family, that's all. We have one more person to love. Why is that a bad thing? Jasmine wiped her eyes. It's not. I know it's not. I'm processing. Process all you need, but be kind to her. She's been through hell. I'll try. Marcus walked to the guest house and knocked softly. Sophia answered with Emma on her hip, still in pajamas, her hair wild from sleep. Jasmine's here, he said. Now I thought she wasn't coming until this afternoon. She took an early flight. She's nervous. I'm nervous. I know. But you're both good people. It'll be okay. What if she hates me? She won't. What if I hate her? Marcus smiled. Then you'll figure it out. That's what family does. Sophia changed, quickly dressed Emma, and walked to the main house with her heart pounding. Through the window, she could see Jasmine sitting at the kitchen island, her hands wrapped around a coffee mug, her leg bouncing with anxiety. She looked expensive. That was Sophia's first thought. Jasmine wore designer jeans and a cashmere sweater. Her hair was professionally highlighted. Her nails were manicured. She looked like someone who'd never worried about money or safety or where her next meal was coming from. Sophia almost turned around. Almost ran back to the guest house. What was she doing here? She didn't belong in this world. But then Emma made a sound, and Marcus opened the door, and it was too late to run. Jasmine, this is Sophia. Sophia, this is Jasmine. The two women stared at each other. Jasmine saw a young woman with guarded eyes and defensive shoulders, holding a baby like a shield. She saw her father's guilt made flesh. She saw the ghost of people she'd never met. Sophia saw a polished woman with her life together. Someone who'd never had to beg for leftovers or sleep in shelters. She saw everything she could have been if Marcus had made different choices 23 years ago. Hi, Sophia said finally. Hi. Jasmine stood up. Can I see her, Emma? Sophia shifted so Jasmine could see the baby better. Emma looked up at her aunt with wide eyes. She's beautiful, Jasmine whispered. She has Robert's eyes. From the pictures, I mean. Dad showed me. Marcus says she looks like your grandmother too. She does. Around the mouth. Jasmine reached out tentatively. May I hold her? Sophia hesitated. Emma was her security blanket, her reason for fighting, her proof that she wasn't completely alone. Handing her over felt dangerous. But she did it. She passed Emma to Jasmine, watching carefully for any sign that she needed to take her back. Jasmine held Emma with the ease of someone who'd held babies before. "Hey there, little one. I'm your Aunt Jasmine. That's a weird thing to say. I've never been an aunt before." "She's been good today. Fed an hour ago, so she should be calm for a while." "Good to know." Jasmine looked up at Sophia. "Can we talk, just us maybe in the living room?" Marcus took the hint. "I'll watch Emma. You two take your time." They sat on opposite ends of the couch, an ocean of leather between them. Jasmine spoke first. "I don't know how to do this." "Neither do I. I practiced what I'd say on the plane. I had this whole speech prepared. But now that you're here, it all sounds stupid in my head." "What was the speech?" "Something about how this is complicated, but we're adults and we can figure it out. Something about giving each other grace. Something about—" Jasmine stopped. "I was going to tell you that I'm not threatened by you, but that would be a lie." Sophia blinked. "You're threatened by me?" Terrified. "You're this tragic figure my father failed. You're his redemption arc. You're his second chance to do things right. How do I compete with that? I don't want you to compete. Don't you? Even a little bit. Don't you look at me and think about everything you didn't get to have." Sophia was quiet for a moment. "Yes, I do. I look at you and I hate you a little bit, because you got the life I should have had. You got the father, the mother, the stable home, the education. You got everything, while I got nothing. At least you're honest. What's the point of lying? You asked a real question. That's the real answer." Jasmine nodded slowly. "Okay, so we're starting from a place of mutual resentment. That's not great, but at least it's honest. Is this the part where we hug and pretend everything's fine? God, I hope not. I'm not ready for that yet." "Me neither." They sat in awkward silence. Then Jasmine said, "Tell me about your life. The real version, not the sanitized story my dad probably told me." "Why?" "Because I need to know. I need to understand what you survived." So Sophia told her. Not everything she didn't know Jasmine well enough for everything but enough. She told her about foster homes, where she was just a paycheck, about the family who locked her in the basement when she misbehaved, about the teenage boy in one home who thought she was his property, about aging out of the system at 18 with nothing but a garbage bag of belongings, about meeting Emma's father and thinking he was her escape, only to discover he was another trap. Jasmine listened without interrupting, her face growing paler with each detail. "How are you even functioning?" she asked when Sophia finished. "After all that, how are you not completely broken?" "Who says I'm not?" You seem okay. You seem strong." "I'm good at pretending. I've had a lot of practice." "That's not pretending. That's surviving. There's a difference." Jasmine leaned forward. "Listen, I'm not going to sit here and say I understand what you went through. I don't. I can't. I grew up with everything you should have had, but I'm not going to apologize for that either. It's not my fault my parents kept you a secret. I know. And I'm not going to apologize for being protective of my father. He's all I have left. My mom died 3 years ago. It nearly destroyed him. If you're using him, I'm not using him. How do I know that? You don't. You just have to decide whether to trust me or not." Jasmine studied her for a long moment. "My mom used to say you could tell a lot about a person by how they treated people who couldn't do anything for them. When you were homeless, when you asked my dad for leftovers, you could have been aggressive. You could have been manipulative, but Dad said you were polite, dignified. You asked, you didn't demand. That says something. It says I was desperate. It says you have character. Even at your lowest point, you didn't lose yourself." Jasmine paused. "My mom would have liked that about you." Marcus says that too. He's probably right. She had this thing about people who fell through the cracks. She said society's true character showed in how it treated its most vulnerable. She would have been furious that you spent 23 years suffering. She would have moved heaven and earth to find you. But she didn't know about me. No, because my father kept secrets. Jasmine's voice hardened. And that's on him. Not you, not me. Him. He's trying to make it right now. Is he? Or is he just trying to ease his guilt? Does it matter? Either way, I have a place to live and my daughter is safe. It matters to me. Because if he's doing this out of guilt, what happens when the guilt fades? What happens when helping you becomes inconvenient? Sophia hadn't thought of that. I don't know. Neither do I. And that terrifies me. Because you're already depending on him. You're already vulnerable. If he changes his mind, then I'll figure it out. I always do. You shouldn't have to always figure it out. You should have people you can count on. Should I count on you? The question hung between them. Jasmine looked uncomfortable. I don't know yet. Ask me again in 6 months. That's what I told Marcus. Then we're on the same page. Jasmine stood up. Look, I'm not going to pretend we're sisters right now. We're not. We're strangers who happen to be connected by dead people and DNA. But maybe we can be friends. Maybe we can figure out how to exist in each other's lives without it being a disaster. I'd settle for that. Good. So would I. They went back to the kitchen where Marcus was feeding Emma a bottle. He looked up anxiously. How did it go? We didn't kill each other, Jasmine said. I'm calling that a win. She's honest, Sophia added. I appreciate that. Marcus looked between them. So you're okay? We're working on it, they said in unison, then looked at each other in surprise. See? Marcus smiled. You're already syncing up. That's how it starts. Over the next few days, Jasmine stayed at the main house. She and Sophia circled each other carefully, learning the boundaries. Jasmine was bossy, Sophia discovered. She had opinions about everything: how Emma should be fed, how Sophia should dress for job interviews, how the guest house should be decorated. You're very controlling, Sophia said after Jasmine rearranged her kitchen cabinets without asking. I'm helpful. You're invasive. Same thing. It's really not. But despite the tension, something was shifting. Jasmine showed Sophia how to set up a budget, how to build a resume, how to apply for community college programs. She was patient in a way Sophia hadn't expected, explaining things without condescension. You're a good teacher, Sophia said one afternoon while Jasmine helped her fill out financial aid forms. I'm a doctor. Teaching is part of the job. You're good at it. Thanks. Jasmine looked up from the paperwork. You're a fast learner. You pick things up quickly. I had to. If you don't learn fast in foster care, you don't survive. That's a terrible way to learn. It's the only way I knew. Jasmine was quiet for a moment. I want to help you. I know I've been prickly and defensive, but I do want to help. You're my sister, and that means something to me, even if we don't know each other yet. Why? You don't owe me anything. Maybe not, but my mom would have wanted me to, and I'm trying to honor her memory by being the person she raised me to be. She sounds like she was amazing. She was. She was kind and fierce, and she didn't take crap from anyone. She believed in justice and mercy in equal measure. She believed... Jasmine's voice cracked. She believed that love was a verb, not a feeling. That you showed love through actions, not words. Is that why you're here? Why you're helping me? Partly, but also because it's the right thing to do. And because despite my better judgment, I'm starting to actually like you. Yeah, you're tough. You're resilient. You don't whine or play victim. You just keep moving forward. I respect that. You're not so bad yourself when you're not rearranging my cabinets. I can't help it. They were a mess. They were organized my way. Exactly, a mess. They both laughed, and for the first time, it felt easy between them. That evening, Marcus ordered dinner for everyone. They sat around the kitchen table, Marcus, Sophia, Jasmine, and Emma in her bouncer on the floor. This feels like family, Marcus said quietly. Don't get sentimental on us, Dad, Jasmine warned. Too late. I'm old. I'm allowed to be sentimental. You're not old. You're 58. I feel old. These past few weeks have aged me a decade. Good, Jasmine said. Maybe you'll stop keeping massive life-altering secrets now. I deserved that. You did. Sophia watched them banter, feeling both included and separate. This was what normal families did, she realized. They teased each other. They had inside jokes. They had history. She and Emma didn't have history with them. Not yet. What are you thinking about? Marcus asked her. Just that this is nice. Being here, having people. You'll always have people now, he said firmly. Even when you move out, eventually, even when you're on your feet and independent, you'll still have us. I haven't thought about moving out. You will eventually. That's healthy. That's what's supposed to happen. But family doesn't end when you move out. Spoken like someone who's never been abandoned, Sophia said without thinking. The table went silent. I'm sorry, she said quickly. That was true. Marcus finished. That was true. You're right. I don't know what it's like to be abandoned. But I'm trying to make sure you never feel that way again. How can you promise that? I can't promise feelings, but I can promise actions. I can promise I'll show up. I can promise I'll answer your calls. I can promise I'll be there for Emma. I can promise I won't disappear. My foster parents promised things too. They all disappeared eventually. I'm not them. How do I know that? You don't. Not yet. But give me time to prove it. Jasmine cleared her throat. For what it's worth, my dad keeps his promises. When he says he'll do something, he does it. That's one thing I can vouch for. Even when it's hard? Sophia asked. Especially when it's hard. When my mom was dying, he promised her he'd keep the foundation going. There were days he could barely get out of bed, but he showed up. He kept his promise. That's different. That was for someone he loved. And you're someone he's choosing to love. That's not less. That's different, but it's not less. Later that night, after Jasmine had gone to bed and Emma was asleep, Sophia and Marcus sat on the guest house porch. Thank you, Sophia said. For what? For not giving up on me, even when I'm difficult. You're not difficult. You're careful. There's a difference. Jasmine said something similar earlier, about how I don't whine or play victim. She's right. You don't. Is that good or bad? It's neither. It's just who you are. You've learned to be strong because you had to be. But Sophia, you don't have to be strong all the time anymore. You're allowed to fall apart. You're allowed to need help. I don't know how to do that. You asked me for leftovers. That was asking for help. That was desperation. It was courage. And you can do it again, whenever you need to. Sophia was quiet for a moment. I'm scared. Of what? Of trusting this. Of believing it's real. What if I let myself depend on you and you change your mind? I won't. You can't know that. Yes, I can. Sophia, I made a lot of mistakes 23 years ago. I let grief and fear guide my decisions. I gave you up when I should have fought for you. But I'm not that person anymore. I've learned. I've grown. And I've spent 3 years since Diane died wondering what I was supposed to do with the rest of my life. And then you walked up to my table and asked for leftovers, and I knew. This is what I'm supposed to do. Help you. Be family to you. Give you what I should have given you 23 years ago. What if I disappoint you? You won't. You don't know that. What if I fail? What if I can't finish school or get a good job or be a good mother? Then you'll try again. That's what family does. We don't give up on each other just because things get hard. Sophia felt tears burning her eyes. I want to believe you. Then believe me. Take a leap of faith. I don't know how to do that either. Yes, you do. You did it when you knocked on my table. You did it when you moved into the guest house. You did it when you met Elizabeth and Jasmine. You keep taking leaps of faith. You just don't call them that. I call them survival. Maybe they're both. Maybe surviving requires faith. Faith that tomorrow will be better than today. Faith that you're worth fighting for. Am I worth fighting for? Marcus looked at her steadily. Yes, absolutely yes. You're Robert's daughter. You're Michelle's daughter. You're Emma's mother. You're my family. You're worth everything. Sophia let herself cry then, really cry. Not the silent tears she'd learned to shed in foster homes, where crying too loud got you punished. But full gulping sobs that shook her whole body. Marcus moved closer and put his arm around her shoulders. He didn't tell her to stop crying. He didn't tell her everything would be okay. He just sat with her in the dark and let her feel what she needed to feel. When she finally calmed down, she said, "Thank you for finding me. Thank you for letting me. I didn't have much choice. I was desperate. You always have a choice. You could have walked away after that first dinner. You could have refused my help. You could have disappeared, but you didn't. You stayed. You let me in. That took courage too." They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Sophia said, "Jasmine's starting to like me, I think." "She is. I can tell." "How?" "She stopped asking me every day if you're using me. That's progress." She really asked that. Every single day for 2 weeks, sometimes twice a day. Sophia laughed. "She's protective of you. She's a good daughter. You'll be a good sister to her, I think. Once you both stop circling each other like nervous cats." "I've never had a sister." "She's never had one either. You'll figure it out together." "What if we don't?" "Then you'll be two people who share DNA and holiday dinners. That's okay too. Not all family relationships look the same." "Is that what you tell yourself about Karen, because she still looks at you like she wants to throat punch you?" Marcus winced. "Karen's always been intense. She'll come around eventually." "You sure about that?" "No, but I'm hopeful. Hope is all we've got sometimes." 6 months passed like water through fingers, fast and slow at the same time. Sophia enrolled in community college, taking online classes in nursing, while Emma napped. Marcus had wanted to pay for a full university program, but Sophia insisted on starting small. "I need to prove I can do this," she'd told him. "I need to know I can finish something." "You've already proven yourself." "To you, maybe. Not to me." So she took 2 classes that first semester. Introduction to Nursing and Human Anatomy. She studied at the kitchen table, while Emma played on a blanket beside her. She took exams with her heart pounding, terrified of failure. When her grades came back an A and a B+, she cried for an hour. "I did it," she told Marcus, showing him the transcript on her laptop. "I actually did it." "Of course you did. I never doubted you." "I doubted me." "Then I'm glad you were wrong." Jasmine came to visit once a month. Each visit was easier than the last. They still circled each other, sometimes still had moments of tension, but they were learning each other's rhythms. "You're messier than I expected," Jasmine said one weekend, picking up toys scattered across the living room. "You're bossier than I expected," Sophia shot back. "Fair point." Jasmine sat down with Emma on her lap. "But seriously, you need a better organization system. This chaos isn't sustainable." "It works for me." "Does it, though?" "Yes, I always know where everything is." "That's because everything is everywhere." They bickered like this now, comfortable, familiar. It felt almost normal. Elizabeth called every Sunday morning without fail. She'd driven up to Chicago twice, bringing homemade meals and photo albums and stories about Robert. She was patient with Sophia's boundaries, never pushing too hard, always giving space when needed. "I'm coming for Thanksgiving," Elizabeth announced one Sunday. "I'm bringing Karen and Beth and their families. I know it's a lot, but it's tradition. The Harrison family always spends Thanksgiving together." "I don't know if I'm ready for that many people." "You don't have to be ready. You just have to show up. We'll handle the rest." What if I can't handle it? Then you take breaks. You step outside when you need to. You do what works for you. But Sophia, honey, you're part of this family. That means you're part of our traditions too. Sophia agreed mostly because she didn't know how to say no to Elizabeth. But as Thanksgiving approached, her anxiety grew. What if they all expect me to be grateful and perfect? She asked Marcus one evening. They don't expect perfection. They expect you to be yourself. What if myself isn't good enough? It will be. It always is. You're biased. Yes, and I'm also right. Thanksgiving Day arrived cold and bright. Elizabeth and Beth arrived first, their cars loaded with food and children. Beth's 3 kids exploded into the house like small tornadoes: 10-year-old Madison, 8-year-old Connor, and 5-year-old Lily. Your Aunt Sophia, Madison announced, hugging her around the waist. Mom says you're our dad's sister's daughter, which makes you our cousin or aunt or something. I don't really understand, but Mom says we're family now. Sophia looked down at this confident, chattering child and felt overwhelmed. I guess we are. Cool. Can I hold Emma? I'm really good with babies. I helped Mom with Lily all the time. Maybe later. Okay. Madison bounded off to explore the guest house with her siblings following. Beth smiled apologetically. Sorry, they're excited. We don't get new family members very often. It's okay. They're sweet. They're loud. But yes, also sweet. Karen arrived an hour later with her husband and teenage son. She was civil to Sophia, but distant, still processing, still hurt. Her son Tyler was 17 and sullen, barely looking up from his phone. Tyler, say hello to your Aunt Sophia, Karen prompted. Hey. He didn't look up. That's enough enthusiasm for one day, Karen said dryly. Come on, let's get the food inside. The house filled with noise, children running, adults cooking, the television playing, football in the background. It was chaos. It was overwhelming. It was family. Sophia found herself in the kitchen with Elizabeth and Beth peeling potatoes while Emma napped in a bassinet nearby. This is a lot, Sophia admitted. Too much? Elizabeth asked. Maybe, but also nice. I've never had a family Thanksgiving before. Never. Some foster homes celebrated, but it never felt like mine. I was always the extra kid they had to feed. Beth put down her peeler. Well, you're not an extra kid here. You're our family. This is your Thanksgiving too. It doesn't feel real yet. Give it time. Real takes a while. They cooked together, and slowly Sophia began to relax. Elizabeth told stories about Thanksgivings past, about Robert burning the turkey one year, about the time Beth's husband fell asleep at the table before dessert. We're not a perfect family, Elizabeth said. We're just a real one. We fight and forgive and show up for each other. That's what matters. Dinner was loud and chaotic. 15 people crammed around 2 tables pushed together. Emma fussed and Madison asked 1,000 questions, and Connor spilled his milk twice. Karen barely spoke, focused on her plate. Tyler stayed on his phone until his father made him put it away. But Marcus said grace, thanking God for family found and lost and found again. And when he mentioned Robert and Michelle, his voice breaking, everyone was quiet. To absent friends, Elizabeth said, raising her glass. To absent friends, they all echoed. After dinner, while the kids played outside and the adults cleaned up, Karen cornered Sophia in the hallway. I need to talk to you. Okay. They went to Sophia's bedroom away from the noise. Karen stood with her arms crossed, her jaw tight. I've been angry at you for 6 months. I know. It's not fair. I know it's not fair. You didn't ask for any of this. But I've been angry anyway. You're allowed to be angry. Am I? Because everyone keeps telling me to be understanding, to give you a chance, to remember it's not your fault. Karen's voice rose. But do you know what it's like to find out your brother had a child and nobody told you? Do you know what it's like to realize you could have known your niece could have been part of her life, but someone decided you didn't get that choice? No. But I know what it's like to grow up without family. I know what it's like to wish for someone to claim you and have nobody come. Karen flinched. That's not fair. None of this is fair. You lost your brother. I lost my parents. Marcus lost his best friends. We're all grieving something we never got to have. So what do we do about it? I don't know. Keep showing up, I guess. Keep trying. Karen was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Robert would have liked you. You're stubborn like he was, and honest. He hated dishonesty. Marcus says that too. Marcus knew him better than anyone. If Marcus sees Robert in you, then it's probably true. Karen uncrossed her arms. I'm not ready to be your friend yet, but I'm trying to not be your enemy. Can that be enough for now? Yes. Good. Because this family, we don't give up on each other. Even when we're angry, even when it's hard, we show up. That's what Harrisons do. I'm not a Harrison. Not really. You're Robert's daughter. That makes you a Harrison whether you like it or not. After Thanksgiving, winter settled in. Sophia finished her semester with strong grades and registered for 3 classes in the spring. Emma turned 6 months old, then 7, learning to sit up and laugh and grab at everything within reach. Jasmine came for Christmas, bringing presents for everyone. She and Sophia had grown closer, texting daily, video calling weekly. They still had their moments. Jasmine's bossiness clashing with Sophia's independence, but they were learning to communicate. You're good for my dad, Jasmine told Sophia on Christmas Eve, after Marcus had gone to bed, and they were wrapping last-minute presents. How so? He's happier, more present. After Mom died, he was just going through the motions. But now he has purpose again. You gave him that. He gave me everything. I gave him nothing. That's not true. You gave him a chance to make things right. You gave him family again. That's not nothing. I still feel like I'm taking advantage of him. Are you? No. But it feels like I should be contributing more. Paying rent. Helping with bills. Something. You're going to school. You're raising Emma. You're building a future. That's contribution enough. Is it? Sophia, stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Stop waiting for this to end. It's not going to end. We're your family now, permanently. Accept it. I'm trying. Try harder. Spring came, and with it Sophia's second semester. She was taking harder classes now: chemistry, microbiology, medical terminology. She studied late into the night, Emma asleep beside her, coffee growing cold on the table. She was exhausted. She was stressed. But she was also thriving. One afternoon, Marcus found her crying over her chemistry textbook. What's wrong? I can't understand this. I've read it 10 times and I still don't get it. Then we'll find you a tutor. I can't afford a tutor. I can. Marcus, I can't keep taking your money. It's not taking, it's accepting help. There's a difference. Is there? Because it feels the same to me? Marcus sat down across from her. Sophia, I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. Diane and I built the foundation specifically to help people like you, people who need a hand up, not a handout. Let me do what the foundation exists to do. But this isn't the foundation. This is personal. You're right. It's personal. You're my family. And I take care of my family. What if I never pay you back? I don't want you to pay me back. I want you to finish school. I want you to become a nurse. I want you to build a good life for Emma. That's payment enough. Sophia wiped her eyes. Why are you so nice to me? Because you deserve nice. Because Robert and Michelle would want you taken care of. Because I failed you once, and I won't fail you again. You didn't fail me. You were young and scared and grieving. I still made the wrong choice, and I'll spend the rest of my life making up for it. You don't have to. I want to. The tutor helped. Sophia's grades improved. By the end of the semester, she had 3 A's and felt like maybe, just maybe, she could actually do this. Emma's first birthday came in July. Elizabeth insisted on hosting a party in Indiana. It's tradition, she said. First birthdays are a big deal in the Harrison family. So they all drove to Greenfield. Marcus, Sophia, Emma, and Jasmine, who'd flown in from Atlanta. Elizabeth's house was decorated with streamers and balloons. Beth brought her kids. Karen came with her family. Even Tyler seemed less sullen playing with Emma on the floor. "She's really cute," Tyler admitted. "For a baby." High praise from a teenager, Karen said dryly. They sang happy birthday. Emma smashed cake all over her face. Everyone took pictures. It was normal and chaotic and perfect. "Make a wish," Elizabeth told Sophia. "It's tradition. The mother gets a wish on the baby's first birthday." Sophia closed her eyes. A year ago, she'd been homeless and desperate, begging for leftovers outside a restaurant. Now she had a family, a home, a future. She wished for it to last, for this fragile, precious thing called family to hold steady, for Emma to always know she was wanted and loved, for herself to believe she deserved this. "What did you wish for?" Jasmine asked later. "Can't tell. It won't come true." "That's for birthday candles, not birthday wishes." "Same principle." "You're superstitious now." "Maybe. Or maybe I'm just being careful with good things. I've learned they don't always last." "This will last. We're not going anywhere." "Promise." "Promise." That fall, Sophia started her third semester. She was taking a full course load now, 5 classes, all nursing prerequisites. It was brutal. She barely slept. Emma was walking now, getting into everything, requiring constant supervision. Marcus hired a part-time nanny to help during the day so Sophia could study. She protested at first, but Marcus was firm. "You can't do everything alone. Let people help you." "I feel guilty." "Stop feeling guilty. Start feeling grateful." "I am grateful." "Then show it by accepting help gracefully, instead of fighting it every time." The nanny, Maria, was a grandmother from Mexico who'd raised 6 children of her own. She was patient with Emma and kind to Sophia. She made traditional meals and taught Sophia Spanish words while they cooked together. "You're a good mother," Maria told her one afternoon. "You work so hard for your baby." "I'm trying." That's what good mothers do. They try, even when they're tired, even when it's hard. My mother died before she could be my mother. I don't know if I'm doing it right. There is no right. There is only love. And you love your baby, I see it. I do, more than anything. Then you're doing it right. In November, Sophia got accepted into the nursing program at a nearby university. She'd applied on a whim, not really believing she'd get in. But her grades were strong, her essay was compelling, and she had a powerful letter of recommendation from the dean of the community college. She called Marcus first. "I got in." "Of course you did. You're brilliant." "I'm not brilliant. I just work hard." Same thing. She called Elizabeth next, then Jasmine, then Beth. Each of them celebrated with her, proud and excited. Karen sent a text. "Congratulations, Robert would be proud." It was the nicest thing Karen had said to her in a year. That Christmas, Sophia gave Marcus a gift, a small painting she'd done. She wasn't an artist, not really, but she'd tried. It was abstract, full of color and light, representing everything she felt but couldn't say. Marcus opened it and went very quiet. "Sophia, this is beautiful." "It's not great. I'm not talented like that." "It's perfect." "What does it mean?" "It's supposed to be chaos turning into order, darkness turning into light. It's supposed to be—" She stopped, embarrassed. "It's supposed to be what you did for me. You took my chaos and helped me find order. You took my darkness and gave me light." Marcus's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll hang it somewhere." "I'll hang it in my office, where I can see it every day." "You don't have to do that." "Yes, I do. This is Sophia. This is the best gift anyone's ever given me." "It's just a painting." "It's not. It's your heart, and I'll treasure it." On New Year's Eve, they all gathered at Marcus's house, Elizabeth, Beth's family, Karen's family, Jasmine, and her son Caleb. Even Maria came with her husband. At midnight, they raised glasses and made toasts. To family, Marcus said. Old and new, lost and found. To second chances and new beginnings. To Robert and Michelle, who brought us all together even in their absence. To Sophia and Emma, who reminded us what family really means. To all of us learning to love each other despite our differences and our pain. To the future, whatever it holds. To the future, they all echoed. Sophia held Emma, now 18 months old, and fighting sleep, and looked around at all these people who claimed her as family. Elizabeth, with her steady love. Beth, with her gentle acceptance. Karen, with her grudging respect. Tyler, with his teenage awkwardness. Jasmine, with her bossy affection. Marcus, with his unwavering support. "What are you thinking?" Jasmine asked, sitting beside her. "That a year and a half ago I was begging for leftovers outside a restaurant. And now I'm here." "Magic, right, like the title of your story." "I don't believe in magic." "Then what do you call this?" "Grace, maybe, or luck, or—" Sophia paused, watching Marcus laugh with Elizabeth, watching the children play, watching Emma yawn, and finally give in to sleep. "Or maybe just love. Maybe that's the magic. People choosing to love you even when they don't have to." "That's exactly what it is." Jasmine put her arm around Sophia's shoulders. "Welcome to the family, little sister. For real this time. No more probation. You're stuck with us now." "I can think of worse things to be stuck with." "Same." They sat in comfortable silence, watching their family celebrate. Sophia thought about that October night outside Ember and Oak, about how desperate she'd been, how close to giving up. She thought about the courage it had taken to approach Marcus's table to ask for help, to admit she needed something. She thought about all the foster homes that had made her feel worthless, all the people who'd told her she'd never amount to anything, all the time she'd believed them. And she thought about Emma, sleeping peacefully in her arms, completely trusting, completely loved. "Thank you," she whispered to Marcus when he walked by. "For what?" "For seeing me that night. For not looking away. Thank you for being brave enough to ask. For giving me a chance to do the right thing." He kissed the top of her head. "You changed my life, Sophia. You and Emma both. You gave me purpose again. You gave me family. That's the real magic." Later that night, after everyone had gone home or to bed, Sophia stood in the guest house looking at all the things that were hers now. The furniture Marcus had bought. The clothes hanging in the closet. The textbooks stacked on the desk. Emma's toys scattered across the floor. A year and a half ago, everything she owned fit in a garbage bag. Now she had a home, a family, a future. She picked up her phone and typed a text to Marcus. "I believe you now. That this is real. That you're not going anywhere. That I deserve this. Thank you for not giving up on me." His response came immediately. "I never will. Your family. Forever. That's a promise I intend to keep." Sophia looked at those words for a long time. Forever. Family. Promise. Words that used to terrify her. Words that used to feel like lies. But now, finally, they felt like truth. She put her phone down and went to check on Emma one more time. Her daughter slept peacefully, safe and loved and wanted. "We're going to be okay," Sophia whispered to her. "We have people now. Real people. Family. And they're not going anywhere." Emma sighed in her sleep, and Sophia smiled. For the first time in her life, she believed in happy endings. Not because everything was perfect, it wasn't. There were still hard days, still moments of doubt, still old wounds that ached. But she had people who loved her, people who chose her, people who showed up day after day, proving that family wasn't about blood or perfection. It was about commitment, about staying, about loving someone even when it was hard. That was the real magic, not the money or the opportunities or the material things Marcus had given her, but the simple, profound act of being claimed, of being chosen, of being loved. She'd asked for leftovers outside a restaurant one desperate October night, and somehow impossibly, she'd found everything she'd ever needed. Not in what Marcus gave her, but in the fact that he'd seen her, really seen her, and decided she was worth knowing, worth helping, worth loving. That was the miracle. That was the magic. One moment of human connection that changed everything. And Sophia would spend the rest of her life grateful for the courage it took to ask and the grace it took to receive. Because sometimes the bravest thing we can do is admit we need help. And sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is offer it. Both take courage, both take love, both create magic. The kind of magic that happens when strangers become family, when loneliness becomes belonging, when desperation becomes hope, when a simple question, "Can I have your leftovers?" becomes the first chapter of a whole new life.